might have noticed that some of the traits within you are hereditary. Maybe it's your mother's blue eyes or your father's black hair. Thus, some traits may be inherited from your parents, while some others even from your grandparents. In this video, we will learn about the structure of those biomolecules which are involved in transferring hereditary information from one generation to the other. We will start our discussion with nucleic acids. Basically, nucleic acids are biomolecules present in all living cells. They are responsible for transmission of genetic information from one generation to the other. Now, in this context, let us discuss the chemical composition and structure of nucleic acids. The basic components of nucleic acids include a pentose sugar, a phosphate group, and a nitrogen base. Depending upon the types of pentose sugar, nucleic acids are broadly classified into deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA, and ribonucleic acid, that is RNA. Let us see how DNA and RNA differ in their structures. If you examine the structures of pentose sugar in RNA and DNA, you may see that the sugar moiety in RNA is beta-D ribose, while it is beta-D 2-deoxyribose in DNA. Next, we will see how these nucleic acids differ with respect to nitrogen bases. There are 4 nitrogenous bases present in DNA. They are adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. On the other hand, in RNA, the base uracil is substituted for thymine. In fact, the bases adenine and guanine belong to the class of purines, whereas thymine, cytosine, and uracil are classified as pyrimidines. Now, we will see what a nucleoside is. A nitrogenous base attached to the C1 position of sugar is known as nucleoside. What is depicted here is a nucleoside called adenosine. In nucleosides, the sugar carbons are numbered as C1, C2, etc. in order to distinguish these from the bases. When a nucleoside is linked to phosphoric acid at C5 position of the sugar moiety, then we will get a nucleotide. For instance, here you can see the nucleotide adenosine triphosphate. Thus, if you compare the nucleotides of DNA and RNA, you can see that there are 2 hydroxyl groups attached to the sugar of RNA, whereas only 1 hydroxyl group is present in DNA. Now, as you have learned the structure of nucleotide, can you draw a structure of a dinucleotide? Well, a typical dinucleotide is formed when 2 nucleotides join together by a phosphodiester linkage between carbon atoms C5 and C3 of a pentose sugar. Therefore, the backbone of a polynucleotide is formed by repeating the unit of a sugar phosphate. The sequence of nucleotides in the chain of nucleic acid gives the primary structure of DNA or RNA. Here you can see the primary structure of DNA. Actually, DNA forms a double-stranded helix structure. Here, the nucleic acid chains are held together by hydrogen bonds between the pairs of bases. These 2 strands are complementary to each other. They form hydrogen bonds between specific pairs of bases. Adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine, whereas cytosine forms the hydrogen bonds with guanine. Next, we will discuss the secondary structure of RNA. Basically, RNA forms a single helix. Often, this single-stranded helix folds back on itself. Essentially, there are 3 types of RNA in living system. They are messenger RNA, and ribosomal RNA and transfer RNA. Each of these perform different functions. mRNA carries genetic information from DNA to ribosomes, right? tRNA brings amino acids to mRNA and rRNA is involved in the synthesis of proteins. Finally, we will look into the major biological functions of DNA. DNA is the chemical basis of heredity and is responsible for maintaining the identity of different species. DNA molecules undergo self-duplication during cell division and the identical DNA strands are transferred to daughter cells. As mentioned earlier, rRNA is involved in protein synthesis. However, the message for the synthesis of a particular protein is present in DNA. Thus, DNA is the reserve of genetic information. I mentioned at the beginning of the class about the inheritance of traits from past generations, right? However, as we age, you may start inheriting some of the undesirable traits of your parents. For example, your father's hairline or your mother's persistent fatigue, etc. Do you think that these characteristics are just the DNA being expressed? Well, the answer is no. There are biomolecules in our body that are impacted by the way DNA functions over time. These molecules are called hormones. We will learn more about them in the next video. Now, let us summarize what we have learned so far.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.